I'll call this city council meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Elliott.
Here.
Councilmember Wroge.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Here.
Councilmember Sandahl.
Here.
Mayor Gotel.
Here. And I apologize for the late meeting as we started. If some of you are watching on television, our clocks are not all aligned. So we were in a study session and didn't realize that we were already a minute to the meeting. So is there anyone for the open forum? Okay, then I would ask that everybody here please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd ask for the approval of the special city council meeting of October 23rd, 2012, the special city council work session of October 23rd, 2012, the regular city council meeting of October 23rd, 2012, and the special city council HRA Planning Commission meeting of November 1st, 2012.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. As most of the citizens know, the city has a number of commissions that do voluntary work in transportation, parks and recs, and a lot of other activities that go on in the city. Tonight, we've got the annual meeting with the Planning Commission, and I welcome Chairman Rick Jabs to come up and tell us what they've been doing this past year. Evening, Mr. Jabs.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Thanks for inviting us to give our annual report. This report covers from October 2011 until October 2012. And I want to, first of all, make sure that we say thanks to all the Planning Commission members for their year of service and for the time that they've spent putting in. We finally had one really long meeting that lasted until about 11 o'clock, which was kind of interesting. So, but everything else has been pretty much succinct. So with that, I'll go on. So we'll start out with October 2011, and we recommended approval of an amendment to the comprehensive plan that will designate 7401 Lindale Avenue and the west 140 feet of 7421 Lindale Avenue immediately adjacent to the street as community commercial, and 609 74th Street West as neighborhood commercial. We recommended approval of 1, a change in the zoning of 609 74th Avenue West from a multi-family residential to a service office, and 2, a site plan approval to allow the operation of a low-intensity service business at 609 74th Street West. We recommended approval of an amendment to the zoning ordinance that will rezone all but the west 140 feet of 7421 Lindale Avenue from neighborhood commercial to multifamily residential. And we recommended approval of an ordinance change related to the processing of requests for the expansion of non-conforming buildings in the mixed-use districts. Last item, recommended approval of a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of a non-conforming building at 7701 and 7717 Nicollet Avenue, the new Menards store going up. In November of 2011, we recommended approval of a major amendment to the planned unit development for the Hub Shopping Center to allow a commercial daycare. And we recommended an approval of an ordinance change related to accessory structures on exceptionally large lots. December, we celebrated Christmas and had no meeting. January 2012, we recommended approval of a conditional use permit for a full-service restaurant, Pizza Luce, at 866th Street West. Great food, by the way, so yes. That's good. And nice addition. Recommended approval of some denial of other variances and approval of an overall site plan for an O'Reilly Auto Parts store at 1120 66th Street East, and recommended approval of a conditional use permit and variances for a dog kennel with an outdoor relief area located at 6315 Penn Avenue. In February, we had one big item, which was recommend approval and amended conditional use permit for 6315, the dog kennel outdoor relief area. And in March, we recommended a site plan approval for general office and warehouse use at 6328 Penn Avenue for the Fraser School. No meeting in April. And in May, interesting month, conduct and close a public hearing related to a proposed zoning ordinance amendment, final development plan, and conditional use permit for a planned unit development that would allow construction of a 70-unit development that includes 18 townhomes and 52-unit apartment building at 7641 Pleasant Avenue, the former Richfield Public Works garage property, and the former Gleason Mortuary at 211 West 76th Street. Continue further consideration of the request until June 25th, 2012. We continue requests related to a resolution finding that the modification of the redevelopment plan for the Richfield Development Project and establishment of the Pillsbury Commons tax incremental financing and tax incremental financing plan are consistent with Richfield Comp Plan. And two, a resolution finding that the sale of certain real property conforms to the general plans for the development and redevelopment of the city. In June, we approved the 2014 through 2017 capital improvement program and finding of consistency with the comp plan for the capital improvement program and the 2013 capital improvement budget. Second, we approved the approval of a comprehensive plan amendment changing the designation property from high-density residential to community commercial office to rezone the property from mixed-use community to planned mixed use, and final development and conditional use permit for an auto body repair shop at 301 77th Street. Recommended denial of all requests related to the proposal for a planned unit development at 7641 Pleasant Avenue, Pillsbury Commons. In July, recommended approval of a conditional use permit to allow a restaurant at 6439 Lindale Avenue. In August, we recommended approval of a conditional use permit to allow lighted fields and new building bleachers and backstop at 7001 Harriet Avenue, the Richfield High School. No meeting in September. And finally, in October, we recommended approval and amendment to the city's zoning ordinance in order to clarify the definition of height of a building, and recommended approval of a site plan amendment that will allow 900 square foot addition to the building located at 609 74th Street West. And with that, that's what we did last year. And any questions, comments?
If I may, I just want to actually thank you. I'm the liaison to the Planning Commission, and I think I've made most of the meetings this year. I may have missed a couple, but it's lively. There's always a good debate. There's a lot of opinions. I don't think I can think of anything that's ever come before you that's just had the rubber stamp. And it's illuminating to me to listen to the debate and listen to the members of the commission talk about it. They've all got good ideas. And you always come down on what appears to be the right answer or the right solution or the right vote. And it's been, I really enjoyed it. I mean, you wouldn't think that I'd enjoy going out night after night and attending, but it really is enjoyable for me to sit in on your meetings and listen to the debate and the discussion that goes. I mean, your whole committee pays attention, knows what's going on, knows what the expectations are, and has the debate and comes up with a vote. And I just want to thank you because I've enjoyed every one of them.
Thank you. Thanks very much. We'll make sure we pass it on.
I just want to say, too, I've watched some of them and I've been to some of them, and I think your leadership, too, in having to facilitate some of those conversations get a little heated from time to time, and people are passionate about that. You have a passionate team of people, and you've done a very great job of trying to control that and bring them back to focus, and I want to say how much I appreciate that, too, because sometimes that's a little hard to do, too, when people get a little spirited, I would like to say.
Thanks. It's our pleasure, and I think I think it's a great commission to work with, and I think hopefully the recommendations and that we bring forward at least help you and stimulate some of the things that you have to make decisions on. So,
Okay.
Thanks much.
Sure. Thank you. That was great. We have council discussion. If anyone is really, really wanting to have a December 26th meeting, I don't know how many staff will be here, you know, we could hold that, but I think in lieu of that, from just looking at the faces here, I would say that I'll make a motion to cancel the Wednesday, December 26th regular city council meeting. That is Boxing Day in most of the rest of the world anyway.
Second.
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The meeting has been formally canceled. This is hats off to Hometown Hits, and we will start with Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Have a couple items. Vets Day, we did actually go out to the Honoring All Veterans Memorial. Nice cold day. We could have had it the day before, it would have been better. And we did read off the names of the Minnesotans that had died in the military since 9/11, and we had a good group. It was nice and cozy. And next year, we'd already thought about what we're doing next year. We're thinking we're going to take advantage of the nighttime and when that's illuminated in its full capacity and really show off the night part of it. The other item I have is the Noise Oversight Committee. Many of you maybe seen me on Channel 9 the other night talking about it, and we'll be making a decision to move it forward to the whole Met Council tomorrow at our meeting with the MAC. And for Richfield, we're assured that this procedure will more benefit Richfield than leaving it undone. I'm not sure what the other cities will do, so it'll be a great debate tomorrow because not everybody's a winner when we do things like this. But for the most part, Richfield is a winner, and if you didn't see me point my finger on the map the other night, we're basically, for Richfield, we're talking about the runway that we call 30 left. When the planes come off, they're actually right over the area of Highway 77 in the crosstown. And with this RNAV departure, what it will do is electronically guide that plane down the crosstown to at least the point of Highway 100, at which point then it'll pick up wherever their en route section is. While doing so, they'll be climbing. And the reason we picked that was a mitigated area. People remembered long before they were always going down the crosstown, do it more visually, but then we had the near miss that happened almost right over where the crosstown and the Highway 77 met. And when that happened, the FAA had to go back in their procedures and look at the books, and darn if they didn't have it, so they put them up on the wing. So we were seeing planes coming down 66th Street or going down Portland or everywhere else. So what we've done is really put back into the mix something that'll work electronically. It's actually going to be safer. All planes will know how to follow it, so it won't be up to the discretion of the wind and the temperature and the performance of the aircraft on where they turn. It will be affected by weather. If that thunderstorm comes in, they are going to turn, but we're going to see the majority of the aircraft that would have impacted Richfield going down the crosstown to Highway 100. So that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow, and I just want to make sure everybody understood where we are and what we're doing.
Councilmember Sandell?
Thank you, Your Honor. I wanted to report on two things. One, in front of the council, there's a letter of commendation from the Transportation Commission, and this was brought up by the members of the Transportation Commission at their last meeting, and they just wanted to go on record and to let the City Council and the leadership in the city know that they are very pleased with, in particular, Jeff Pearson, the city's transportation engineer, in terms of his ability to share information and explain it to them, keep Richfield's long-term interests in view of what's happening in the transportation industry, and take the time to send us a letter to tell us that they really thought he was doing a good job. And I keep saying every time Richfield does anything that whatever we do well, and this is just one more example of our staff does a good job, and we appreciate that. So just to let the staff and the public at home know that your city employees are working very hard for you. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was I attended the Veterans Day ceremony Monday at the Richfield STEM School, and it was just a delightful, very moving veterans. I only wish my husband could have been there. So all of the students, and I think they go up, is it 6th grade or 5th grade? I can't remember. They're K through, I believe, 5th grade, maybe 6th. But they put on the program. The 4th and 5th graders were the hosts and explained to people what was going on, and they led the discussion, or not the discussion, but explained the program as it went forward. They had the Marine Corps Honor Guard presented the flag. They all sang, and they had music to talk, patriotic music. And then they did a little history of the reason that Armistice Day became Veterans Day and why it moved briefly under one president to October instead of November and went back to November, and it was very informative and just delightful. And then they all sang, I'm trying to remember, what was the song? Thank You Soldiers, and it was displayed on the video, and their beautiful little voices were just wonderful. It was so moving. I had to get out my Kleenex. It was wonderful. So, and this is their first time, and I suspect they will do it again. So you might want to put that on your calendar next year for Veterans Day to see if the Richfield STEM School program is going to be repeated or probably expanded. It was just delightful.
And it's open to the public, because I attended as well. I attended both
Yeah,
events.
so
but
it was just
it's open
delightful.
to the public,
Yeah.
so it was very, very nice. So, Councilmember Elliott.
I have nothing, Sue.
Today I visited the Veterans Memorial with Jim Topitzhofer from Park and Rec, and was really amazed at how far it's come along, and we were told that it's going to be about a week and a half, and all the marble should be done, all the granite should be done, and it just looks beautiful, and it's going to be interesting to see how many people show up at the next spring, and be able to see what's happened. I know people walking in there now, but I think you're right. I think when the lights are on, it's going to be fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that. But and they still have room for more people who want to join and get their plaques up there for either them or their relatives. Or Jim, you mentioned one thing today. Maybe you could enlighten us about. You have obviously the person who was buried in a Confederate grave and should have been in the Union grave, and now that's been resolved. But we have the marker, the original marker. But then you told me about who the oldest person in that memorial is.
Yeah, that's true. We have the name of our Civil War soldier on our tablets. His name is Dolson, his correct name. And but we actually have another a veteran that's even older than that from the Revolutionary War. And the family that purchased the engraving had authenticated papers and everything. That person's name, I don't recall what it is, but it's on our tablets, and it's a Revolutionary War veteran.
Wow.
It's looking really nice, and when it gets finished, people should come up and take a look at it. Maybe that'll make you think about helping us out by putting up the name of their relative from their family.
You know what's so striking about that, too, is when you drive by now that they've taken the berm down,
Yep.
it is so visible
it
from
from
the
the
road,
street.
and especially now, night comes quicker these days with the daylight savings time. It's beautiful. It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
When you can see it and when the lights all go out, it'll just be magnificent. It was so clever, just to re-landscape a little. It's very, very nice.
Mayor, the council has talked about several veterans events that happen. We're hoping that other veterans groups and associations use our monument for their own ceremonies, and we're starting to see that now. And that's what we really want. We want it to be used, and we know that it's going to attract a lot of people. It already has, as these granite workers are installing this engraved granite, and it really looks wonderful. It really makes it look a lot more complete. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised just the people that show up and want to talk to them, about what's going on. And every time I visit, there are people visiting the monument, no matter what time of day that I go there. So it's a very special thing for Richfield.
Please, go ahead.
We had a Beyond the Yellow Ribbon event not too long ago where we welcomed other cities, and I had the Adjutant General Nash there. And we showed him the rendering of that. It was unfortunate that we couldn't do it near that because we're going to march him over there, but he looked at it and said, "This is better than the one we have at our Capitol." So he said he would be there in next Memorial Day to let us dedicate that,
Yes.
so.
Very nice.
Mayor, one more thing.
Please.
I also would just like to say that this is going to be my last city council meeting now that we've voted not to come back after Christmas. So, and I just want to thank everybody. I've already thanked some of the staff members who came tonight, and I just want to do this publicly to thank all the people that are on the city council. I want to thank all the staff of the city and all the workers that makes us one of the best places in the world to live in. And also all the residents and business owners. The last 8 years has been fantastic for me. I've learned so much. I've just been amazed by how much people love Richfield, and hopefully we can do more things to make it better. I'll be around to help anybody who wants help, but I appreciate the fact that the people who supported me put me in office twice, and if you didn't, but you still understood that I worked as hard as I could to make Richfield better, just want to thank everybody.
And with that note, then I will start the round robin here. I just wanted to say that, you know, Fred, you came here and you welcomed me as the mayor, and I appreciate that because it was a changing of the guard. But, you know, I really saw a lot of passion in what you did. And when I needed some extra homework, and we would split things now and then and go after them to find stuff, you were always there to support me to do that. And I appreciate it. And you came up with some really great ideas, and you added a lot of value to the city. And so I just want to say that I have appreciated your service here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Similar feelings. I can tell you honestly that I started watching the city council on TV and watched some of your passion came through. And when Sue, my predecessor, decided not to run, you came to the office, sat down, and asked me if I'd consider running, and I had no intention, but you told me about your feelings for Richfield, and I shared mine, and so you're probably the reason I'm sitting up here, and I like to think that on occasion maybe I tempered some of your passion in the right direction, but other times I followed willingly, just because it works both ways, and it's been a pleasure. It's been educational, and I don't think anybody can deny that you brought true passion to everything you did in the last 8 years.
Thanks, Pat.
Councilmember Sandell.
Well, and I want to say thank you for your 8 years of service. That's a long time. That's a good long time, and you did a good job. We don't always see eye to eye, but it's always been a respectful discussion, and I appreciate that.
Thanks.
And I'm probably the only member that was on both sides of the fence here, because I was a police sergeant when he was first, and I had to sometimes go over and talk to you about certain calls or whatever, and I appreciated your tenacity on doing the right things for Richfield. And the other thing I appreciate is you actually opened a lot of windows and doors for us on looking at different perspectives. Because a lot of times we get these items, we look at them pretty much as it goes, but you brought other possibilities in and made us make the correct decisions and actually pressed us to the wall to make sure we made the right decisions. So I want to thank you for that.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. I have just a couple of other items here. I did go over to the Adler Open House, which was last week, and a lot of people don't know that we actually have a grad school right here in the city of Richfield, and it's called Adler Graduate School. And it focuses on degrees, master's degrees for those in the mental health care field. And they just opened up a whole new realm of a master's degree called co-occurring mental health issues. And this is a whole new field where a lot of us have already known that somebody who might be have an addiction also has other issues. But now they're trying to figure out what's the best way to treat them. There's been a lot of study and stuff done on this. And Adler is breaking ground on this very area about what you should treat first and how you should do it and what is most successful. And they are teaching that master's degree now. They have several other master's degree if people are interested in that. And they're very open to taking the public around for tours. I was just at an open house with a wonderful panel discussion. There was several people from our Department of Health, David Wellstone, the son of former Senator Wellstone, Jim Ramstad was there, and many Richfield residents and a lot of their graduate students. So it was really interesting to see that and to know what a wonderful little gem, all these gems we have right here in Richfield. And they're expanding. They're expanding their programs, and they're growing. The other thing is I would like to ask, I know there were 2 council members that were looking at the League of Minnesota Cities, and also our city manager, and our city manager's informed me that he's a conflict and he cannot make that League of Minnesota Cities meeting in Boston, and so that leaves 2 openings, and I'm looking to see.
I'm not going to be able to do it. I've got scheduled trials that are going to keep me preoccupied.
And I know how that goes. Councilmember Fitzhenry.
I'd prefer somebody else do it if I could arrange my schedule, but I might have difficulty.
I
If I
can
have to.
see if I can. I can see if I can.
What were the dates again?
It's the last week of November. It's right
Yeah,
after
coming up
Thanksgiving.
real quick.
It's right after Thanksgiving. So I will look at my schedule and see if I can move things around to do that. Okay, thank you. Any other things we want to discuss? Council approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a consent calendar, rather long one.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those in the audience, both here and at home, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once that consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions have also been approved, and no further council action on those items is necessary. Tonight we have several items on the consent calendar, starting with item A, consideration of approval of a first reading of an ordinance amending the Richfield City Code subsection 50707 subdivision 53 related to the definition of building height. Item B is consideration of approval of a resolution determining the results of the city general election on Tuesday, November 6th, 2012. Item C is consideration of approval of an amendment to the site lease agreement at 7401 Logan Avenue between the City of Richfield and Sprint Spectrum Realty Company, LP, regarding location of antenna system. Item D is consideration of approval of continuing agreement for 2013 with Hennepin County Human Services and the Public Health Department and the City of Richfield Public Safety Department, Police Division, for a police cadet position and Hennepin County Joint Community Police Participation Training and accepting funds therefore. Item E is consideration of approval of a resolution granting site of plan amendment allowing construction of a 900 square foot building addition at 609 74th Street West. Item F is consideration of approval of scheduling a public hearing on December 11th, 2012 for the renewal of the 2013 pawnbroker and secondhand goods dealer licenses for Metro Pawn and Gun Incorporated and University Cash Company, LLC, doing business as Avi's Pawn and Jewelry. Item G is consideration of approval of scheduling a public hearing on December 11th, 2012 for the renewal of 2013 on-sale wine and on-sale 3.2% malt liquor licenses for Red Pepper Chinese Restaurant, Thompson's Fireside Pizza, Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado, LLC, doing business as Chipotle Mexican Grill, Patrick's Bakery and Cafe, Lariat Lanes, The Noodle Shop Colorado Incorporated, DBA Noodles and Company, and Joy's Pattaya Thai Restaurant. Item H is consideration of approval of scheduling a public hearing on December 11, 2012 for renewal of 2013 on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor licenses for Khan's Mongolian Barbecue, Champs Operating Corporation, doing business as Champs Restaurant, Minneapolis Richfield American Legion Post 435, Fred Babcock VFW Post 5555, doing business as Four Nichols Food and Drink, Don Pablo's Operating Corporation, doing business as Don Pablo's, Wilshire Restaurants LLC, doing business as Houlihan's Restaurant and Bar, The Frenchman's, El Tejeban Mexican Grill, doing business as El Tejeban, Pizza Luce 7 Incorporated, and Financial Guidance, doing business as 4 Points by Sheridan. Item I is consideration of approval of setting a public hearing on December 4th, 2012 regarding continuation of the streetlight user fee. Item J is consideration of approval of resolution authorizing the Department of Public Safety, Police Division, acceptance of a $10,000 Next Generation 911 grant from the state of Minnesota. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
And Your Honor, if I could, I'm certainly supportive of all these items, but we have our city clerk here and also our police chief. And I think it would be very nice if our city clerk would like to, for the record, tell everyone what Richfield's percentage of voters was. If you'd like to share that information. And maybe the police chief could tell us a little bit about the cadet program.
Don't we have to vote on this first?
Is this discussion?
Public discussion.
We're in discussion time.
Yeah, because I seconded it.
It's been seconded, so we're in discussion.
Oh, I meant,
I know, I'm coughing.
I was hoping that you would just tell the public a little bit about the police cadet program that we're voting on.
Yeah, this year we had a great turnout for our election, and kind of caught me off guard here. We had a couple, I think it was 3 precincts, where we had over 88% turnout, which is way above state average. I believe I read somewhere that Minnesota led the nation in voter
Yes,
turnout.
that's what Mark Ritchie said, yes.
Yes, so in precinct 5, which is the middle school, precinct 7, which is Hope Church, both had 88.3% voter turnout for those precincts, which is phenomenal. So great turnout that day. Everything went really smooth, which I was really happy for, especially with our redistricting this year, which made some people go to different locations, which didn't always make sense to them, but great turnout. I was real happy with it. So.
Thank you. I think Richfield should pat itself on the back.
Yes, that's a very good accomplishment. We vote.
The police cadet program is part of our joint community policing project, and the goal of the program is to recruit members from our new immigrant community to the Richfield. We've recruited Orlando Savala recently into the program, who is from, I'm sorry, I always forget, maybe you can help me out. He is from South America, but I forget if it's on Honduras or
Central America.
El Salvador?
No. Yeah, it's Central America. He's
Central America, yeah.
From Central America.
But we currently have just promoted, we'll be bringing our latest police cadet in front of you at the next council meeting. Was promoted to police officer, so we'll be starting a new recruitment here shortly to replace that cadet, probably right after the first of the year. So it's been a successful program so far for the city, and it's funded through a joint grant with the Hennepin County Human Services Division. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is approved. We have one item under other business. You know, these are going to get to be longer, so I'm going to start making assignments again. Don't worry about it. You guys have had a pretty good, easy time here. This is item 6 on our agenda, and it is consideration of a preliminary request for the community celebration event license and a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license with a request for a fee waiver for the 4th of July committee for events scheduled to take place at Veterans Memorial Park, July 1st through July 4th, 2013. This is our 4th of July celebration in the city. Each year, the 4th of July committee makes applications for the community celebration event license and requests that the license fee of $5,000 be waived for activities that take place throughout the city for the celebration. The committee is again requesting a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license, which would allow them to sell strong beer and wine coolers only, rather than just 3.2% malt liquor as they have done in the past. They plan to sell strong beer and wine coolers on July 3rd only, with earlier hours of service than in past years to coincide with certain celebration activities. The committee is not requesting a fee waiver for this license. Committee is planning an activity plan similar to last year, including contracted services with Minnesota Magic Midway to conduct carnival services on park grounds from July 1st to July 4th. The food concessions will be staffed by members of the various organizations, most of which have been with the committee since the celebration began. The applicant agreed to the following requirements for issuance of these licenses: pay the required licensing fee for the temporary on-sale liquor license, allowing them to sell strong beer and wine coolers only, payment of the fees for each professional concession, proof of liquor liability insurance, a detailed activity plan for the days and events, agreement to contact food sanitarians from the city of Bloomington to ensure that the proper food handling practices are followed, hire public safety police officers to patrol the area for the event. The city manager submitted the attached memo for the city council on July 12th, 2012 regarding the assessment of the 2012 celebration. The memo indicated that deputies and officers initiated 19 calls for service in the park during the event. The number of actual police contacts was higher, and the majority of these contacts were near the carnival. These contacts included disorderly conduct, assault with weapons violations. In addition, there were 9 different street gangs identified in the park. More importantly, officers identified and arrested a 17-year-old gang member and a 19-year-old gang member in the park with guns. Officers made contact with a third individual leaving the park who also had a handgun. The police department believes the carnival is a primary source of concern and the attractions for the gang present. To that end, staff recommends to approve the celebration event license and a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license with a fee waiver for the 4th of July committee for the annual event scheduled to take place July 1st through July 5th, 2013, provided that the carnival is omitted from the list of planned activities for the event. I just want to add a couple of things too, because we did have a study session on this, but I just want to be very clear for the public in general that the city has separated itself from the 4th of July celebration many, many years ago for some really good reasons. It limits our potential liability for injuries that might occur during the celebration. And it's also about financial responsibility, and this is a fundraiser that they bring lots of dollars in from other communities, something we're not able to do. So it's a separate nonprofit entity, and it's responsible for the event and its procedures and its insurances. And they also contract the carnival operator, and they get all the vendors for all the food. So the city doesn't have any contract with any operators whatsoever. The city's role is just to process and perform the regulatory function of that. And of course, we try to be as helpful as we can. This is a city celebration. But it's not the city's event. It is the committee's event, and the city's reviewing this permit, just like it reviews any other permit. So there's some safety concerns that have been brought up and during this event, and we've had some discussions with public safety, and that was some of the things that were discussed in the study session. But I mean, just like Jungbo, we denied a license there too because of some of the activities that were continuously going on here. And I know that the city council has shown a lot of concern about this too. And this is supposed to be a family event, and I think we all have some similar concerns about this. In general, I support what the staff is recommending here. So to that, I'm going to make the motion, and we can have discussion after it's been seconded. Make a motion to approve a community celebration event license and a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license with a fee waiver for the 4th of July committee for the annual event scheduled to take place the 1st of July through the 5th of July, 2013, provided that the carnival is omitted from the list of planned activities for the event and pending submittal of all food vendor license applications, fire permit application, electrical permit application, required insurance certificates, and payment of temporary liquor license fee.
Second.
The other discussion that other council member would like to, please.
I agree with you, and I'm going to support this staff report that says that we probably shouldn't be continuing with the carnival. In a second, I'm going to ask Councilmember Pat Elliott to talk about the legalities of that, but I think that I've gone down to the carnival area on numerous years, and I think that what we're doing is we're giving the wrong message when people see how many officers we need to make it feel safe down there, and I think it's becoming a negative effect. And it also costs the carnival committee money to pay for some of the police officers that are being used from different forces. I think that's important to understand too, is that in a reality, we're probably not even breaking even on the 4th of July committee probably isn't even breaking even on that part of it. So, and I said at the study session, I would support that we would find out what I'd like to see us do is to take like the last 3 years and figure out what the income to the 4th of July committee is, and the average of those 3 years, and give them that money through the general fund. I know last year, if I'm correct, you sold all the pins ahead of time, so they did what we expected of them, and I don't want to put more pressure on them to have to try to raise more money when they're putting it all together to begin with. So I would support using the general fund to give them whatever the average of the last 3 years from the carnival proceeds would be, and to make this just a lot safer atmosphere for everybody to come to.
Councilmember Fitzhenry, would you?
I think everybody knows where I stand. I worked that thing.
I know you did.
And, it got scary toward the end there. We went from an event that was a great Richfield event, that was a city event, to a regional event that is way over our head. And for the general public out there, that I've had questions. No, we're not getting rid of the 4th of July. We're getting rid of the carnival. When saying that, I might say too that the fireworks will still be there, and we'll be cautious about what shows up for the fireworks. We're not totally stupid thinking that, okay, the carnival's everything that might attract them. We're going to check to make sure that's true. But in my personal opinion, in my experience, it was like a bug light. When that thing was running at night, that was the focus of all the police attention. And from a perspective of a resident here, my kids wouldn't go down there, our neighbor kids wouldn't go down there, and a lot of people wouldn't go near the carnival because it really got scary. And they were putting it lightly when they said that. So I think it's time to look back. What is our celebration all about? Is it about a carnival, or is it about celebrating the city and Independence Day? And I think we need to look at the aspect and get the residents more involved in what activities we got there, and not have to worry about attracting other people in. So that's my opinion.
Councilmember Sandell, did you want to weigh in?
I guess I'm okay with going forward this way. When we talked about it, one of the things we had looked at was whether some alternative event could fill the gap, a kiddie carnival with just kiddie rides or something else. And I don't know if there's been any progress on that. Maybe you could speak to that.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Ben Smith. I'm currently the Vice President of the 4th of July Committee. Currently, I think after this meeting, it will allow us more discussion on how we would like to move forward. It has been Public Safety's recommendation to tread lightly with any activity that will continue to draw a public focus to any gathering around the lights, as Council Member Fitzhenry just discussed. So as soon as we get the ruling on our license, I think it will allow us that further discussion.
Okay, keep us informed. Let us know what we can do.
Thank
We're
you.
very supportive. Councilmember Elliott.
Thank you. I can't disagree with anything that's been said from the podium up here this evening. Fred had asked, well, Fred had emailed me, I was out of town, emailed me a copy of the contract that Minnesota Magic Midway and the 4th of July Commission entered into just to review it. I'd like to maybe take the city attorney's position and say that I probably shouldn't offer a legal opinion, but I can tell you, just looking at the contract, it was represented to us that it was kind of an on-the-fly cut and paste, and it's every bit of that. The only damage clause I see in there is the ability of the Midway to void the contract if we have a competing type show or anything, and so we'll just save them the problem of having to void it and just not allow it to happen in the first place.
Okay. Please, Councilmember.
I guess I'd like to clarify too. The events down there, they're fine during the day. And I think we need to look at the aspect of when things happen down there. You know, if I know the carnival isn't going to shut down as soon as it gets dark there. That ain't going to happen. The problem is at what point do we attract the people we don't want there? But I think day events are not as significant as that night event. And maybe when we look at it, we may look at the timing of things to see, you know, how we manage the crowds and who shows up to them. So.
Yeah, I go to the movie night, and that's always an after night, and that's a very nice, very safe event, and that's a wonderful event. So,
If I may,
Councilmember.
I'm just curious, Mr. Smith, you'd indicated that you may have a little bit more flexibility now to go look for some replacement activities and everything. Is it fair to assume that depending on what you find, you may be back because there may be some additional licensing and everything that has to, I'm just trying to get a timeline from you to see what help we can offer you to try to replace something in that venue, because it has been a benefit to the commission going forward and everything. So two things. I want to indicate that I'm willing to help with whatever direction I can, and I'm sure that most of the council members also. But if you have a timeline or some ideas on what direction you may be moving.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the most successful events for the celebration is the street dance, and that takes place on July 3rd, and that's an evening event. So there's something about that event, whether it's the paid admission, whether it's the live music or the community that it attracts there, that we very rarely have any problems at that we know of. So I think tomorrow or on Thursday evening, we have another 4th of July committee meeting. And I think this will give us an opportunity to really chart the course for what the summer celebration looks like, and then keep in mind different opportunities that might arise through brainstorming, or if there is anything we want to plug into that part of the day on the 4th of July, maybe even introducing live music during the day at Veterans Park. Again, giving an outlet for families and the community to gather in Veterans Park. I think opportunities is kind of sky's the limit. I think it's just determining what is responsible as a committee and on behalf of the recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Any other discussion? There's been a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. We have city manager's report.
Really don't have anything to add this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. And seeing no further business, call this meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much for your service.
Thanks.
Chief?